Hello, everybody, and welcome to Right Rose. Tonight I have on Maga Scotty from the X platform, who's a freedom-loving American. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you so much, Magdalena, for having me.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk to you because we've seen such a big resurgence in conservative activism and commentary, especially in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I wanted to know, like, as a private citizen, what motivated you to get out there and start speaking and to put so much energy into
Wow, that's a pretty loaded question.
it?
I'll say this. Before the Charlie Kirk assassination, I knew Charlie Kirk as the guy that went on college campuses and spoke to the woke college students and injected truth into their life in a way that they'd never been talked to before, because the way they're being talked to at that point was seen as like wrong and inappropriate and not proper on the college campus. So that was what I knew Charlie Kirk to be. And then obviously I watched him on the election night that evening of, it was him, Cliff McDonald, Cliff Maloney, and everybody else. But after he passed, here I am looking at all the videos, and you're just like, here's the faith videos. Where were these all these years that I had no idea
Yeah.
about? Those faith videos opened my eyes. What I saw from, okay, here's the Charlie Kirk that I thought and knew before he died. Here's where he was after he died. It had an impact on me. I don't know how
Yeah.
to explain it other than you're watching this content, you're seeing somebody who loves Jesus, who believes, show up with true confidence, strong in the word, strong in his faith, showing up in such a way inside of the context of this conservative world, inside the context of the political climate we're in, inside of the context of where the world is in regards to
Hmm.
Jesus, faith, everything. And you just step back and you go, wow, I didn't know this.
Hmm.
And I don't know how else to explain it, Magdalene, other than saying you watch the content, you start seeing how this man was living,
Yeah.
and there was something that switched inside of me. I don't know how else to explain it other than there was a shift inside of me, and the transformation that ensued shortly within the 3 to 4 days after he was actually assassinated. I don't know how else to explain it other than saying God came into my life more than I'd ever experienced in that one moment. And
Hmm.
here I was, born and raised a Catholic.
Yeah.
And that kind of is the best way to kind of top line that. It's like, knew what he was, died, saw his faith content as I'm scrolling, bam. And it's just, I need to put this down somewhere. And that somewhere was on my ex profile.
And that's an interesting point because I think we're dealing with a bit of a revival now happening across the country. And one thing I've seen is that a lot of people are questioning, like, where was the faith content, like you were? Because there was quite a bit of it, and everyone knew that Kirk was a Christian, but there was kind of like a gap between knowing that he's involved and he's a Christian, he's living that out, and seeing him talk about that. Are you seeing more activists and commentators leaning into discussions of faith in this new, like, conservative world that we're living in?
That's such a great question. I think the best way that I can reply would be saying Charlie Kirk's death and the way it happened, the way it all was tied together, I believe it's giving Christian based people permission to speak more publicly about what they
Mhm.
believe and why they believe it, why they vote the way they are, why they have the certain beliefs about the issues the way that they are. And it's almost as if he is the catalyst to bringing it way more into the focus rather than it being, oh, those guys only talk about that amongst themselves. But I
Hmm.
believe he removed the fear to be public, just like he
Yeah.
removed the fear from me to post about it and be public about it. And there's no
Yeah.
fear anymore. There's no fear of judgment. And I think, as I'm kind of getting chills as I'm talking about this, because it's just like his conviction in his faith, his conviction in how he showed up, his conviction in all that content that we all have seen on the other side, if you never knew it existed, it's impacting people just like it's impacting me.
Yeah. And I see that across the board, and there is sort of like a new wave of people being honest about where they're at, especially people who are not professional political commentators, people in the private sector who are being honest about that. Do you see now in society sort of like the shackles of the liberal fear they put on us? Like, are they fading, or is that something that we just think is happening? Do you see it in real life?
I think Charlie Kirk proved that his faith made him show up the way he showed up every day. And every single individual showing up in that fashion is borrowing Charlie's faith and how he was showing up and the energy that he brought to every one of those engagements where there was fear and there was possible chaos. I mean, I heard a
Mhm.
story the other day where I believe, I can't remember who he was with, but the person was explaining that, oh, I was at this one event with Charlie and the cops literally said, we cannot guarantee your
Yeah,
safety. And I don't know who said it. I know somebody did say it, so I totally apologize. But he said, oh no, we're still going, because he
yeah.
was so rooted in his faith for what he believed, the work he was doing, and knowing that it was all God's plan for himself and his life. And he was just taking it in and pushing it forward no matter what obstacles stood in the way. And I think even though it happened, his assassination happened the way it happened, like I said, he's not only given us permission to be public about it, but also at
Hmm.
the same time, it's like, are we living in the line of the way Charlie Kirk is choosing to live, or are we going to continue letting the fear stop us from
Right.
saying what we want to say and being objective about what we want to say, but also knowing and living in the faith of it all.
I think that's very true. And there is sort of a feeling now where we can't be quiet in the same way because being quiet can lead to sort of like the forgetting of where we're at this point. And on X and on platforms like that, what do you think has been sort of like the next move now in terms of protecting conservatives or getting more speeches out? Like, where does this go from here? Because we have such an upswell of support, of interest in everything in faith and conservative principles. But what's the next step that you see happening?
I believe, again, given the fact that we're working our way through certain elections, as well as all the way up to midterms, it has to show up at the ballot box. It has to. And for my passion for doing whatever needs to be done here locally, in Nevada, that's where my focus is. I'm looking to translate a lot of the audience that I've built over the course of the last 3 weeks, just publishing about what I've been publishing about with my personal faith journey, to
Mm,
get people into action. Because here's one thing that I notice is that in all of my conversations where people are coming to me, they're reading my X profile, they know I'm focused on getting the voter ID here in Nevada passed, because it passed in the last election and it has to pass one more time. Most people want to help, but they just don't know where to go, what to do, who to
mhm.
talk to, what steps to take, and whatnot. So, to really go back to the core of your question, it's how does this translate into continuing the movement forward like a freight train?
Yeah,
For conservative ideas, people having the protection to show up as the way that they are with their faith, and finally getting the results at the ballot box that need to be done to keep pushing it forward, to keep the protections happening. But again, we're all living in faith here. Faith
yeah.
is what's driving us. Charlie Kirk's inspiration will be my inspiration until the day I can no longer breathe. I know that's kind of a massively like really, but yes, really.
Yeah.
um, I know that I speak for many who may not ever speak, but I know that his death, he will not die in vain.
Yeah.
In showing up for the Lord every day, regardless of what you practice, showing up in your faith every day, knowing there's a bigger plan for yourself and your life, and at the same time translating that into actions that's the best for the country and the future of this country. This is the best country and the greatest country in the world. And I will always say that 100%, especially given what you see going on around the world. But again, translating back to your question, it needs to translate into action, into
Yeah.
the ballot box, getting more involved if you're feeling pulled and driven to go down that path.
And I think it's interesting you mentioned Nevada because, like, there are a series of states that I think 5 years ago we would have thought are firmly Democrat, and we're
Mm-hmm.
not going to get them back, and they're not really in contention. And then there were states that we thought were trending Democrat. So we were kind of in the bad area of the trends nationwide. So in a state like Nevada, are you seeing an upswell of conservative support? Like, what is the shift there politically? Because I know we're seeing that happen in Arizona and similar states in the region.
Well, if I remember correctly, I believe the Turning Point organization on one of their Facebook pages posted that we now have a registration advantage here in the state. Again, I think that's only going to continue. I know here locally in the Clark County Republican Party that there was new leadership that is
Hmm.
in, and they have really focused plans that they're going to implement here in the state, in the city, and obviously in the county. But I'm down here in Las Vegas, so that is it's pushing forward. I
Hmm.
think it's pushing forward, and the momentum's on our side. People are sick and tired of being sick and tired of all the liberal looniness that we see across all the different issues. And I think it needs to continue to translate into more registrations and actually results happening in the ballot box.
And what can conservative activists do to help assist that, like on the ground level that you can see? Because there's a lot of people now that want to do something, and they're not necessarily commentators, they're not necessarily savvy at social media, but they can do something on a practical level. Like, what is the need that Republicans have the most, especially in Nevada?
For what I know now, from my own very small amount of knowledge, I will tell you that I didn't really start getting involved in any of this until after the election last November. So the first thing to do is find your local Republican Party. For us, it's Clark County Republican Party. For others, it's you got to figure that out first. That would be step one. Step two, once you're in there, go and say, okay, this is what I want to do. Here's how I want to help, or what are my options? Go to the leadership, go to the chairman of the head of the parties themselves, and ask. Say, hey, I want to contribute. I want to add value. I want to push our agenda forward. What are the possibilities that I can do? Is it registering voters? In that case, you're going to have to go get certified to register voters, just like I have. If it's, there's again, I don't know all the answers. I am your freedom loving American located here in Nevada, talking about how Charlie Kirk's death impacted my faith, and now I'm looking to channel that in the right directions. But if you go to your local party and you say, hey, where do you need help? I want to help. Here's what I can do. Done. That would be the best guidance I can give you. And then also, if you are able to connect with people online who are also in the game, I suggest ask them, hey, I want to get involved. There are so many people sitting on the sidelines that I know that want to get involved. They just don't know who to talk to, where to go, or what to do. And
Yeah,
so, but I think it would start with connect with your local Republican Party, the
yeah.
like your county party connected to the Republican machine, if you will,
And
because
people
there's
dismiss that early on, but they really shouldn't.
well, it's a channel to the right avenues. It's like I'll tell you, back after the election, you see what Scott Pressler did, and you see all the work that he did, and many people, just like me, were massively, massively inspired by it.
Yeah.
Then you go and you see the work that Cliff Maloney is doing in Pennsylvania and New Jersey and knocking on over 500,000 doors in some of those states with his organization. You
Hmm.
cannot not be inspired. You look at Jack Posobiec and all of the stuff that he's doing with TPUSA and the show and after the after effects of Charlie passing. Like everybody's contributing in the way that is going to be most and best in alignment with them and their skills, and it's really up to you if you really want to get involved to figure what that is for you. That's how I kind of look
Yeah.
at it and thinking about it.
I think that's very true. And sort of talking about the other side for a minute, the social media response to Kirk's death and the mourning that conservatives went into on the part of Democrats, I think some of them realized the severity of what had happened and sort of clued in, like John Fetterman and others. They understood that this was not something that was going to be moved past. But then some of them, like Ilhan Omar and others, really didn't notice that. Do you see going forward, like, has this damaged Democrats? Has it made it more difficult to be a Democrat who's going to push and say people are fascist on the Republican side in America, or is it not going to have an impact for them?
Again, only my own personal opinion.
Yeah,
When you see the amount of people that celebrated what happened,
yeah,
it just the sickness in my stomach to see that. We live among those people still, whether you whether you publicly know it or not. And again, but
Yeah.
that's where our faith comes in. We have to sit on our faith, and we have to be authentic, and we have to make choices, and we have to sit back and listen and pray for discernment and pray for clarity, because those people still live among us, and those people
Yeah.
still have those beliefs. Um, that side, again, their brand is in the toilet. Their
Yeah.
approval ratings are, again, probably after this shutdown that we're going through right now, is going to only go lower. They want to give, the funding of illegals and healthcare and all that stuff. That is a hot button. That's what we voted for. We voted for not doing that, going away from that. And again, I think it's all connected. But yes, I think they are going down, and it's not good for them. I think we are taking what happened and we are making the absolute best of it. Nobody will ever, ever replace Charlie Kirk. Nobody.
Yeah. I think
And
that's very true.
we have to go, okay, this happened. It absolutely totally sucks for our movement, but we are going to get back up stronger, and we're going to find the solutions that make sense.
That makes sense. And just sort of in closing, because I've been interested in this as somebody who takes in a lot of conservative media and I've seen the way that X has grown. Do you see conservative alternative media growing exponentially recently? Because I've seen so many new streams, so much new content. Is there an upswell? And if so, do you think it's sustainable after this period of mourning?
I absolutely believe yes. I think that people are being called. They say, I don't know what the verse is. Again, it's been a while since I've really opened the Bible and know the verses. Again, I'll be fully admitted of that. But, they say many are called, but few are chosen, right? I think many people are feeling the call
Yeah,
in their heart to say, okay, I'm not going to stay quiet any longer. And it will be really interesting to see where we are now and where we'll be by the midterms.
yeah,
That's over a year. Over a year. Really, it's going to pick up big time in the summer of
yeah,
next year, before the midterm elections. And I think it will be very interesting to see how it evolves over time from where we are now to where we will be then. What new podcasts are going to come up? What new influencers are going to bubble up? I know there's the Fearless Tour. Those guys, I believe,
yeah,
the Cam, they're making a massive impact very quickly, going on the campuses, continuing the work that Charlie Kirk is doing, which is very commendable of them, and their courage to sit in the fear and go, no, I'm still doing this. This needs to keep going on in some way, shape, or form. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at. I think it's an absolute yes. I think the groundswell of what happened, where people are in their heart, where they're being called, trusting in their faith journey, showing up with courage every day, putting on the armor of God, if you will.
hmm
Um, People aren't going to be quiet anymore. The left has pushed us, poked us, and prodded us for too long, and they've gotten away with it for so long because all the big tech was in on it, on censoring us and silencing us. But now, I mean, you look at YouTube just paid Trump 24.6 million.
yeah,
There's that thing. I mean, I'll tell you straight up a little story before we close.
yeah,
My other very good friend, conservative friend, around the 2020 election, he created a Facebook group called Nationwide Recount 2020. This was 2 or 3 days after the election. In 4 days, it hit 1 million people in that Facebook group. By the time it was shut down for no reason by Facebook, we had 1.6 million people in there.
yeah,
Big tech showed up. They took the axe to everything, and people were just like, fine. You know, it's a new environment now, and the
yeah.
left's not going to get away with things like they could in the past, because it's just the party's over for them, big
Yeah.
time.
I think that's true. And I think it is sort of a time where they have to reflect and they have to see what they want their party to look like. And they might be better off under leadership from someone like Fetterman than from somebody like AOC.
You have to give Fetterman credit for
Yeah,
showing up the way that he did over the last 7 days to say
yeah,
what he said, because
yeah,
he realizes there's a problem now.
yeah,
There is no middle Democrat anymore.
no,
Even if they show up as, oh, I'm a middle, well, Look at the majority of your party and how they're showing up out in public,
Yeah.
online. Look at these posts, look at these actions. We're not dumb. And Americans are not stupid, okay?
No,
Like we live in the greatest country in the world and people are not stupid. It's like,
no.
hello, it's black and white.
Yeah.
Again, after Charlie's death, black and white. Everybody
Yeah.
saw who is where and what and why. So,
I think that's very true. I think it is a great equalizing moment. And it's good for people to understand that you don't have to go back after you've been awoken to things. So thank you so
amen.
much for coming on. Where can people follow you on socials to keep up with you?
So the best place is going to be on my X profile at Magascotti, Magascotty, at Magascotti. Again, I'm working with some people in the Turning Point organization to mobilize people around the country to help us win in certain elections in certain instances. Again, that relationship will only grow and evolve. They did not pay me to say anything like that. This is just me being me, showing up and saying, how can I help? How can I be of value? And there are a couple of people that I've connected with inside of that organization that I'm interacting with on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
I'm also here locally in Nevada. Reach out if you want to go register voters, get connected to the Clark County Republican Party. I can help in that fashion as well. At the end of the day, it's all for America in the future because the
Yeah.
bottom line is I want to make sure that red states just get redder. And if we can flip California and we can flip Pennsylvania and we can flip New Jersey to red, all in on those things. So
Yeah. That'd be a good world to live in. And we'll link all that below. Thank you so much for coming on.
thank you so much, Magdalene. Really appreciate it.